Most people have never heard of the Samson option, but it's not a secret. It's on Wikipedia, in Israeli media, and it was first exposed by Jewish-American journalist Seymour Hersh, the same Pulitzer Prize winner who uncovered Abu Ghraib. The Samson option is Israel's last resort nuclear doctrine. If the state faces collapse, it won't just strike its enemies. It plans to strike major world capitals. Not just Tehran or Damascus, but Washington, D.C., New York, Paris, Berlin, even cities in the countries that fund it. Recently leaked Israeli documents list these exact targets, confirming what Hersh warned about decades ago. This isn't a defense policy. It's global blackmail. A doomsday doctrine where the entire world becomes collateral if Israel falls. Iran has never threatened to nuke its allies, but Israel has, and still might. So ask yourself, if any other country had a doctrine like this, would we call it a democracy or a threat to civilization?
Hey, Shalom, it's your brother Jonathan. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rekah HaKodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone. I want to say Shalom to all the brothers and, of course, the few sisters who are pursuing this truth in sincerity. All right, may the blessing of election be upon your house. Now, went to Chat GPT to see what else I could find about the Samson policy. It is a real thing. I went and looked up the article on Israel's website, and you know it's mentioned a bunch of different places online. This is their policy on how they would deal. Okay, we can confront it with destruction if war broke out. All right, so I asked a question on Chat GPT here. I said the Samson option is it? Oh well, after I asked the question, this is what it gave me. It says the Samson option is a term often associated with Israel's nuclear strategy. It's named after the biblical figure Samson, who brought down the temple upon himself and his enemies. So, you know, if I'm going down, y'all going down with me. This is the spirit that's on the Edomites. If they can't rule, if they can have their way in the earth, nobody's going to have their way in the earth. This is the mentality of the wicked. Okay? Symbolizing a last resort strategy of mutual destruction, here's a brief outline of what it entails. Okay? Nuclear ambiguity. Okay? It says the policy, Israel maintains a policy of ambiguity concerning its nuclear arsenal, when I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, most other nations are required to report the amount of nuclear arms that they have. Is, you know, everybody is under that stipulation, but somehow they're not. Neither confirming nor denying its existence, this approach is intended to deter potential threats without provoking an arms race. Okay, number 2, strategic deterrence. Okay, the purpose, okay, the Samson option is to primarily about deterrence. The idea is to discourage existential threats against Israel by implying severe retaliation, including the use of nuclear weapons. Okay. Now, I wonder in the policy, does it say, like, would they only resort to this if they're nuked, or would they resort to this if they're under attack and they're about to lose? Like, this is outrageous policy. Anyway. To discourage existential threats against Israel by implying severe retaliation, including the use of nuclear weapons. 3, extreme measures. Last resort. Last resort. It suggests that Israel might use nuclear weapons not just against hostile states, but in extreme, intolerable scenarios where the state's survival is at stake. Targets and allies. Okay, so this is what this is the nitty gritty I really wanted to get to. Just to highlight this character trait that's within these people. It's proof that they're the very wicked that the Bible speaks of. Okay? Number 4, targets and allies. Potential threats, potential targets, I mean. While details are speculative, I want to read this actual policy. That's what I want, that PDF of this. Somebody can find it. While details are speculative and not officially documented, the notion behind the Samson option is to threaten strategic enemies that could cause existential harm. Okay? Nuclear strikes on allies. There is no credible documentation or formal policy bullshit. The whole energy around this policy just oozes the mindset of an Edomite. And you gotta keep in mind when you try to come at the small hat in any way, especially on ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is an artificial angel for the small hat. It's not gonna depict its creator in a negative light, especially not the small. It might talk bad about Edomites from time to time when you put certain questions in, but it's not gonna go against the small hat in particular. Okay, when they first put out the AI and then people were asking it, oh, depict yourself if you were a person, it depicted itself as a small hat. You guys remember that a couple years ago? All right, but let's continue on here. It says nuclear strike on allies. There's no credible documentation or formal policy indicating that Samson option involves using nuclear weapons against allies. This misconception, the strategy is about deterring enemies, not confronting allies. But what's going to happen, we know that the scriptures say, this is why as a believer you got to be wary when you use ChatGPT or any AI. You got to resort to the scriptures for the ultimate truth. All right? In the book of Obadiah, it talks about how this devil's enemies is going to turn on him. You think, and that might not even be in the physical, some of his allies may not be physically trying to turn on him, they just might side, with the East to preserve itself. But you think the devil is going to be cool with that? You think he's going to let that slide? Of course not. Okay? So you read particular things, man, take it with a grain of salt, realize the origins of the tools that you're using when it comes to technology and things like that. But the ultimate truth comes from the scriptures. Okay? Bullet 5 says implementation and consequences. Use of force, if implemented, the Samson option would likely involve targeting military population centers of adversarial states. The aim would be to inflict significant damage, potentially drawing broader international consequences. So, big agricultural cities, bombing people's grid, things of that sort, man. If they can't win, then nobody's gonna win. But you know who's gonna intervene, and they ain't gonna be able to get that shot off? Yahweh Shah's gonna be the one to shut all that bullshit down. He ain't gonna let that go down. So this is another futile plan of the wicked. It says ethical and global impact. All right, the decision to employ such strategy will not only bring catastrophic effects, but also several moral and diplomatic repercussions worldwide, affecting global stability and alliances. Obviously. All right, so that was pretty much what ChatGPT said. Let's go get some precepts. All right, so you go to Matthew, the 24th chapter. All right, and I want verse 22, but we're going to start in 21, and we're going to read it in the NLT here on the right. Okay, it reads, "For there will be greater anguish than any time since the world began." That's the times that we're getting ready to walk into. And the only way you'll be able to weather that storm that the Lord is cooking up is if the Lord is with you himself. Okay? So you got to be seeking righteousness, seeking meekness, so you may be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. Okay, verse 22. It says, "In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive." And this devil's going to be doing so much evil and destruction that, in fact, if he were left up to his devices to carry out his bullshit, man would cease to exist. But the Lord wouldn't allow that to happen. You understand? There's not going to be any end of the nations. except for Esau. He's the only nation that's going to be put off the earth. And the earth itself abideth forever, as the scriptures say. Okay? So again, verse 22, I'm going to read it in the KJV now on the left. It said, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. All right, now let's go to Obadiah 1 and verse 7. We're going to read it in NLT here on the right. It says, all your allies will turn against you. This is biblical prophecy. So we know all of Edom's allies are going to turn against Esau, Edom. And they got a policy like the Samson policy. You think they're not going to bomb the people that they were once cool with? I'm just going to show you that the spirit that Esau, that's within him, it's a very perverse spirit. And there's nothing any of us could do to change that. The Lord made him that way. The scriptures say, yeah, the Lord made all things for himself, even the wicked for the day of evil. So if you're disillusioned that this guy isn't as bad as the scriptures say that he is, you're tripping. Okay? Obadiah 1:7. All of your allies will turn against you. They will help to chase you from your land. They will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. And all the other nations, all the NATO countries are in their back rooms and when they're having their meetings, they're all coming up with a plan B to get out of bed with this damn devil, man. It's true. The scriptures say this. They will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. Your trusted friends will set traps for you and you won't even know about it. Okay? That's what's going down. Everybody's looking for a way out. Because life ain't living with this man in power. You see? So everybody's looking for another option, another way. But the only true way is to seek Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and that's preserved for the family of the heavens, the elect of the family of the heavens. It's a beautiful time, man, to be alive and see these prophecies playing out. No, we know. Because, yeah, we're going to be vexed like Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah, right? We're going to be vexed from day to day with the filthy conversation of the wicked. But we know at the end of the day, all this shit going to be made right. There's a lot of people that have come to the realization that, we're under curses. They may not be able to put their finger on the precept, but they can clearly see, man, some divine conditions have been put on our people. And that'll drive a man mad to come to that realization and not know if there's an actual fix or a solution to it. We know there's a fix and a solution to it. So at the same time of us being frustrated with this place, we have the stability of mind. Wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times. We have the stability of mind because we know this devil ain't gonna get away with all this bullshit that he's been doing. He's not gonna prevail in his plans. Not only do we know who the enemy is, we know how the enemy is gonna fall without a doubt. So there's major comfort in that, and to see it playing out. It's something to have joy about, So Abaratazah, the lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises once more to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rekah HaKadosh. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. I want to say shalom to all the brothers and of course the few sisters who are pursuing this truth and sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. All right, shalom.